I am Doomsvince. This is day 93 of Spawn Year.
I can't believe I've already read a full year's worth of Curse of the Spawn. In just 3 months, I've watched the entire Spawn mythos evolve from an exciting, bold, but meandering premise into an overblown cash cow more concerned with selling a brand than telling a compelling story. With this issue, it's hard not to feel like I'm studying a marketing strategy instead of reading a narrative. It's only fitting that our proper introduction to the woman McFarlane replaced Chapel with as the assassin responsible for Al's death, named here as Jessica Priest, is on the cover as the movie version. I've never seen anything like this. We have a character created for a movie to replace a character McFarlane couldn't use, and then the history of the comics, which isn't the most cohesively held together thing to begin with, is retroactively changed to make the movie and the comics match. And this comic just comes right out and admits that, calls attention to the sheer awkwardness of this move by putting the live-action version on the cover. It's not even a variant. That's the only version. And keep in mind, this is now after the Spawn movie's been at the box office at least a couple weeks, indicated by letters in the back talking about seeing the movie opening weekend. So if you're keeping up with the comic, you'd have seen the movie and thought, hey, that's the girl we saw in one panel in Spawn 61 who a trippy dream version of Clown says killed Al instead of Chapel, and you'd have first heard her name in a feature film. I really wonder if McFarlane got that in there at the last minute to avoid complaints that the movie isn't faithful enough to the source material. Brilliant move. Change the source material to fit the movie, a problem solved. And yet, according to a quote from McFarlane I found in my trusty Spawn Year laptop, whenever anyone complained about changes that were made for the movie or the animated show, he would just say he didn't want to keep telling the exact same story over and over. Hey, I like that logic, except he ignored major continuity in his comic so he could make it the same story. Even if he couldn't use Chapel anymore in the comic due to Liefeld leaving Image, I also read that in my special Spawn Year wiki, couldn't he just avoid retreading the origin? Have we spent enough issues in this comic on how and why exactly Al Simmons was murdered? It's so convoluted at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if aliens, the ghost of Richard Nixon, and Santa Claus weren't all in on the conspiracy, and if Al's death wasn't predicted by the Mayans along with Armageddon, which they were wrong about, by the way. That happens in 1996. So McElroy begins to chronicle the bizarre past and present of the soulless, sociopathic nightmare gun for hire who is Jessica Priest. As a child, she was a pyromaniac who either had a break with reality or else she and reality were never on speaking terms because she burns down her house and kills both her parents, just for telling her she's not allowed to roast marshmallows in the house. And so she's insanely doing just that, roasting marshmallows on the house when the police arrive, and the only hint we're given about her home life is when she quotes her father, saying, "Never take no for an answer." I don't know if her father was abusive, and I'm surprised the story doesn't go there. That seems to be the go-to tragic backstory in this universe, or why she's so deranged. But fast forward, and now this unhinged and morbidly disturbed little girl is an unhinged and morbidly disturbed, fully grown woman who uses her powers of seduction to help her do her killing. As one of Jason Wynn's full-fledged secret CIA operatives, he gives her off-the-record illegal missions and she's perfect for them. Not only does she have no conscience, but she has a rare psychosis where she can only be sexually fulfilled through homicide. I wish the comic were as explicit about her background and why she is this way as it is about how she gets off on watching folks die. Jessica Priest feels cool warmth in her nethers. Cool warmth? I guess we've got an editor not watching out for those oxymorons. An orgasmic endorphins rush, a peaceful alpha state that can, for her, be achieved by no other act save killing. And she's Wynn's top field op, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say she's really good at it. You know what she sounds like? A great candidate for a hellspawn! Forget all that nonsense about Al's goodness and penchant for killing, making him a candidate for heaven or for hell. Why did Bulgy go after essentially an anomaly when this girl exists? Wynn sends her to Iraq to start a ginormous war with Israel, and the general she kidnaps actually calls her the Spawn of Satan. Yeah, great word choice there, McElroy. All you're doing is fueling my fire. Wish I had some marshmallows. This woman is totally without empathy. At least I can't complain anymore about all the women in this series being all heroic and noble. Not only is she going out doing all this dirty work and thinks it's better than sex, but she's even a better manipulator than Wynn is. She has a secret, wholesome family life with a husband who's crazy about her and 2 adopted children. I would have appreciated some fake explanation she gives him maybe about why they can't have children. More details in general would have been welcomed here, but I'm sure glad this wacko doesn't have her own biological children. That would be really messed up. She masquerades as a businesswoman who has everything and takes long work trips. She's the best actress on the planet, too. We actually get an intimate scene between her and her husband right after we're told she's only aroused by violence. And speaking of messed up, she lives 3 blocks from Terry and Wanda, which seems to be just an ironic thing. It's hard to believe Wynn would have 2 operatives living that close together unless she's there to spy on him, but we're not told. Great. Not only was she a 4-year afterthought, but she's been right under our noses the whole time. She strikes me as a cross between Carnage and Harley Quinn. Completely out to lunch, but great at faking normal. It's always a good idea to give your homicidal maniac some unique quirk that helps her stand out in a crowd. Jessica's just singing, and she does it so much, I'm sure I'll never forget that's her quirk. Especially because Doomsvince has taken the opportunity to finally add more music to my iPod. Every song sings or parodies in this issue. So now I can either listen to the Dark Saga for the 98th time, or one of these classic tracks. Ring Around the Rosie, the theme from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I Love a Parade, It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want to, and the theme from Gilligan's Island. I hope she's developed into something more complex than just a psycho nobody knows is psycho. I wonder if she enjoys that normal life, and if having the semblance of sanity makes it easier to live with herself. Or if she's still that same unremorseful, non-empathetic little girl who murdered her family and laughed about it. Wynn sends her to the rainforest at the end, steal a weapon called the Heat 16, and to kill the fraternal twin scientists who developed it. But it turns out they're expecting her and seem as twisted as she is. One of them shoots her, laughs about it, and that's where we're left. Will she survive? Can McElroy keep me invested in a main character who seems to have no humanity at all and who really has no right to exist? Find out tomorrow. Same Spawn time, same Spawn channel. Signed, Captain Logan.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a blacked out Cap who drank a little too much caffeine and took a year-long nap. The date was December 31st, the place somewhere in time. He might be between life and death, or it might be in his mind. It might be in his mind. Doomsvince came to him right then. He said he must read Spawn. If he didn't review it every day, his soul would be gone. His soul would be gone. He set out writing Spawn reviews for a long, long year about Al Simmons and Salmon Twitch, Violator, Who is Clown, Cogliostro, Angela and Jason Wynn, here in Spawn Year.